Hey guys, ever wonder what a worm farm is? Like, people may be talking about worm farms, or you may know someone who has a worm farm. Have you ever wondered what a worm farm is really about, or how to make one? Well, in this episode, I'm going to show you exactly how I make a worm farm, and how simple it is, really. So, just to cover it, a worm farm is basically exactly as the name suggests. It is a series of containers which you set up in a specific way to allow earthworms to decomposing and vegetative matter. So that's basically to say everything that comes out of your kitchen that isn't animal, like, I mean, if you're not vegetarian or vegan or whatever it might be, or pescatarian for that matter, if you're eating just, uh, let me see, if you're eating just vegetables and plant matter, the excess of whatever it is that comes out of out of your kitchen can go straight into the worm farm. Any of your papers, cement bags, building paper, printing paper, uh, old Christmas cards, wink wink, um, paper gifts that people give you that you're like, oh yeah, thanks, that's wonderful, but then you're like, no, stick it in the worm farm. Um, this is what a worm farm. This is what a worm farm can be used for, basically. So I went out to the store and I got some stuff to make a worm farm. Another one. I've had one for I think about 15, going on nearly 20 years now. And the nice thing about it is, like the refuse bags you use, I use probably less than half of what the average person uses because I don't throw all the crap into the dustbin. Because what really creeps me out is the idea of having, I don't, just like plant matter and flesh and stuff in your dustbin in the kitchen or in your pantry, or I don't know, wherever people keep their dustbins, or even outside. It's just disgusting because then you have all these flies and maggots and things. Nope, not having any of that. I love animals, but I don't like maggots. I value them, but I don't like having them missioning around on my kitchen floor when they're looking for a place to pupate. I remember seeing that in people's homes. So, yeah, question is like, whose homes am I visiting? Hey, well, no, I'm kidding. Um, so yeah, I just figured, hey, it's so easy to make a worm farm, and I've had it for so many years. Let me just show you how to make one. So here it is. And then I will also do an episode, a follow-up one in the future when I need to actually manage them again. I'll film it and I'll show you exactly how to do that. But for now, here's Worm Farm Basics 101. Enjoy! So essentially, these are the containers I went and got. So this here, just to show you, this is a lid, okay, which basically just kind of very neatly fits into that. So you can see if I move it, that it's interlocking. So all of these trays are interlocking as well, all of these. So there's another one in there, and then there's another one down there. So they're three stacked on top of one another, and then it's got a lid to actually close it up with. And inside I've got some things which I bought for plants as well. So, okay, right. What do we do to build the wormery? First, you're going to need some bricks to stand it on. Okay, you're going to need these 3 containers. You don't need to have a lid, and there are many ways of actually doing a wormery. But I've already begun, and I just thought, like, why am I doing this without filming it? So that you can see it, because it's really a useful thing, because they eat paper. They eat, well, I'll do an episode on worms themselves, but they're basically anything that is private documents or things that you don't want to throw into your regular refuse. Anything that's biodegradable, even cement bags, they will chow it, provided obviously you've taken out the cement. But they basically eat everything that is paper, everything that is biodegradable, except for flesh. So chicken bones and stuff like that. I believe they'll take a nibble at it, but it's not their main way of it's not their main. It's not on their menu. Yeah, it's not on their menu. So let's get cracking. So these are the 3 things you need, or 4 things. So it's a lid. You don't need the lid, but good to have. And then you need all 3 of these containers, and they are interlocking. So then the last thing you'll need is, let me just show you, is this, which is a tap. So the tap I'm going to put into the bottom over here, right? So I'm just going to make a hole and stick it straight in there, a hole that fits perfectly for the size. Okay, you don't want it bigger, or the seal is going to leak, the white rubber seal, and you don't want that happening. So this is I'll show you my completed wormery, the other one that I have here at the nursery, and then I've got one at home as well. And yeah, I just thought, geez, it's time that I actually really stock up on wormeries instead of just having like enough to get by with. I really want to decompose everything that comes out of this garden. So right, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make the hole, and I've started already. I basically I put this tap over there, and then I kind of marked it with a marker along the outside, so you can't really see it because it's black, and the pen I used is also cleverly, it is black. But I don't have really cool sharp tools and things, so I'm just like doing it homemade, like really quick and dirty. And this is what I've used. I've actually just used a drill bit, marked it out, and I've just made enough holes, and then I used my pair of secateurs, which a lot of gardeners would, scoff at that because you're using your secateurs for something other than plants. Nevertheless, it works, and so now I'm going to push this out, cut it out, and then I'm going to try and sand the hole a little bit just to make the edges nice and smooth, and then we're going to put the tap in there. And this, I know it's on the top, but because they're interlocking, I'll just shift it to the bottom. It's just easier to work this way. Okay, cool bananas. Finally, geez, I'm like 200 years old after trying to do this with like conventional non-hole making, non-piercing tools. Well, I suppose piercing tools, but yeah, it could have worked a whole lot better. But yeah, so right, there's my hole, and then there's the tap, which I'm going to pop through. It's slightly smaller, so I'm going to force it through. And then I've got this little nut, which this I just picked up at our local plumbing place, and you're going to stick this around the back of the hole like so, and then the tap's going to go in there and you turn it in. Okay, so that's pretty much how it works. Right, so let's I'm going to do that. Right, my tap is in. It wasn't too difficult, and now on the inside I'm just going to put this little nut. You've got to be careful when you actually do this too, so that you do the hole in the right way, so that you don't end up damaging the thread of your tap. Otherwise this won't function correctly. Let me just see if I can turn it like that, so you can actually see that a lot more clearly. Let's just make sure that I've got this in the correct position. Sometimes a bit difficult to get it lined up. There we go. Perfect. Perfecto. Okay. And like I said, I've been using a wormery for so many years. It's just, I think it's everyone's responsibility to actually get rid of their biological waste, like, as far as possible. I mean, yeah, we pay whatever, I don't know what you call it in other countries, but in South Africa, we pay rates and taxes and whatever, and, you know, and that's all good and well, but just because someone else is taking your money and telling you they're going to do something good with it doesn't mean that you don't have a responsibility to teach your family the value of doing these things, because I'll show you the completed wormery that I do have, like I said, and show you the products that I get out of it. Then I'll do another episode later on where I will actually talk to you about worms. So, right, that is the first phase complete. Tap is in. Now we're gonna drill holes. And one more thing, what you also want to do is you want to make sure that this tap is tight, like it needs to be sealed from the back. You can also put some plumber's tape on the thread just to ensure that it doesn't leak around the outside here. It's not a big deal, but because you're going to stand a bucket under it regularly, which you need to do because the worms don't like being saturated. They don't like living in water. They just want a damp medium in which to burrow and feed and reproduce. So right now what I'm going to do is, remember the one with the tap is the lowest tier, okay? Then we're going, so this one is going to come straight off, and I'm just going to stick it behind me. And then here in this one, I'm literally just going to be taking my drill and I'm going to be drilling holes throughout the space of this one and the one below that. So these two are going to sit on top of the one with the tap in it, and I'll explain why. So, okay, so give me a sec. I don't think I can drill like this. So that's going to take me a while, so let me come back once they're all drilled. Right, all done. So basically what I've done here is I have inserted the tap. I've made sure that it's nice and tight and that the seal, the white little ring there that you see, is in place. And then let's just deconstruct this little guy quickly. So on the inside of the lowest tier, you can see there are no holes. It is completely solid. The tap is in place, okay? And now I've put the first tier in place, or second tier. Well, yeah, I don't know. This one has got holes in it, and you can see it's roughly about 13 holes per triangle. If you can see this midline here, roughly, sort of, some have less, some have more. It doesn't really matter. Then I've got the next one, which also snaps in there, and then you've got the lid, which goes on top, and then I'm going to weigh it down with something so that lesser spotted genet don't get into this and eat the worms whilst I'm away. So let us fill this up. Let's put some worms in here. Let's prepare this for worms. So first, what you want to do is this. So I'm going to take this back off. I'm going to leave the first one in place, okay? So you've got the tap at the bottom, and then the first tray sitting into the bottom tray. Okay. Now, first and foremost, what you need to know about worms is they need a moist, cool place, depending on what type of worm you've got. So you get red wrigglers, you get tropical worms, which are a little more blue and larger, and some of them have sleeping stages, and some of them have the tropical worms tend to like warmer environments, obviously. So depending on what type of worms you've got, red wrigglers are the most common. These are the ones that I have here as well. We do find the indigenous earthworm that we have here, so they do make their way into this thing sometimes. But red regulars are the guys that you need. And so moisture, cool temperatures, and I'll put up on screen exactly what the temperature of this storage container, where you place it, what the temperature of the ambient temperature should be, because you can see if I pan up, it's actually behind the hothouse, behind one of the shade houses. So north is that way. So I'm sitting on the southern side. So in the southern hemisphere, this is my shadier side where I'm standing. That the worms would absolutely cook on the other side of the building. Okay, so the sun's flooding in through and coming this way. So this part here is almost always in shade. Okay, and so you can regulate the watering and regulate the temperature a lot better this way here. Okay, so first and foremost, what we're going to do is we're going to prepare the inside of this container for the worms. Okay, so what I'll need is some newspaper. Okay, so let's get the newspaper, and then I'm going to tear it into shreds, and I'm going to just put it liberally and just kind of put it all over to block the holes. Not block them, but cover them. Okay. Right, so there we go. I've put some grapes and some peaches in here for them to eat too. No, I'm kidding. Guys, I'm joking. That is a joke. Okay, so just because they're going to see pictures of grapes and peaches does not mean the worms are going to have a much better life in here. They're going to have a good life if you feed them good food. Because look, there's also steak. They're not going to like that very much. Okay, so in the second one, I've also got shredded paper. Okay, and in the third one it is empty. So now in this corner over here, I've got a lot of my vegetative matter, like all the stuff that I just the leaves that I am a bit selfish about, and I hang on to them as the plants drop their leaves. I keep these leaves in these bags. I've had a bit of a backlog, but now I will be able to give the worms all of these things and they'll consume it. Okay, so look, the plastic is now completely broken down. If there is plastic inside your wormery, that's okay. The worms will bypass that. They'll just move around it. And then when you finally take your compost out, you'll just have to remove the plastic, so try and avoid putting plastic in there to begin with, right? But if you've got a situation like this, which I should have been more on top of and wasn't, then of course you won't sit with a situation like this. So right. So let's what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some worms out of the existing wormery and place them into the wormery that we've got over there. Okay, great. And then in that black bag over there, I've got some like private personal things, like, I don't know, just like bowls and stuff, which are older than 5 years. I'm sort of paranoid that way. I don't like throwing them away. So all I do is occasionally I bring it along with me and I just stick it in there and I wet it and I give it to the worms to eat, provided there is I don't use any hardcore paper, things that I know have got like laminate and stuff on it, because they won't be able to consume that. So let's go to the existing wormery and get some worms. Okay. So here is my existing wormery. This is an old one. Geez, I've had this for quite a couple of years. And I've got a bucket standing at the bottom. So when I throw water into it and I just tilt it slightly, you'll see there is still some fluid in there. So that I will happily dilute with some fresh water and give that to plants. So I will do that later, but I just wanted to show you that real quick. That stuff is really, really brilliant for your garden. It's fantastic. But when we do the actual wormery, like worm farming episode, I will deal with that in a little more depth. But just as a basic, this is what it looks like. So now let's get into the wormery itself. Okay, so lid off. Now, one thing you need to know about your wormery is if it smells bad, then something not good is going on in here. Okay, Now, if you could be here, this smells like soil. It smells really good. And so I'm not, in fact, going to take worms from this particular tier. I'm going to take it from the second tier because I've just put lots of food in here and everything, so they're probably all just munching away in this tier. So we're going to take a look at the second tier and see if we can get some worms out of that. Right, so I'm going to just swap them out. Here is the inside of the current wormery. I just wanted to show you what it looks like in there, and you can see them all just munching away. They're congregating around this green leaf, green vegetable matter. So that's the first tier. Here is the opening to the second one. So let's just check inside here. I've just put this sort of cloth up on here. There you can see there's one worm. Let's just go a little bit deeper, and there they are. So here, there's one right there. And then they're all just kind of sitting. See them sitting in there? It's okay, little wormies. It's okay, guys. Hello, guys. Hello, worms. Oh, look, there's Jim. Hey, Jim, how's it going? Remember Earthworm Jim? So this is the good stuff. So I'm going to take some of this, just like a nice handful. Okay. And there should be some worms in this. Like so. And then we're going to take it to the other wormery. Okay, so here we are. I've now given them some time to hide away, but I've put some of the product from the old wormery into this new one. Okay, and in between there should be little eggs, like there's a little baby earthworm right there. And you don't need a lot, so a lot of them are probably in the top container feeding quite a lot, and I really don't feel like digging into fresh vegetable matter that is busy like rotting and gross. It's just disgusting, so I'm not going to do that. This I don't mind touching because this smells really good. So the top tier I'm not going to. But yeah, as I said, this is now it's laying in here. The worms are going to be very happy in here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of hessian over the top. You could use anything, like you could use some more newspaper if you've got, or grass clippings or whatever it is. I'm going to put some more dead bromeliad leaves over here as well. In fact, you know what? I'm going to use bromeliad leaves solely. I'm not going to use hessian this time. I'm just going to put that straight over here and then wet it extremely well. So then the water will actually pass through all the way to the bottom and come out at the bottom there. But I'm not going to pour the water off in the first go. I'm going to give them like a week to settle in. And then, yeah, because the water will just be water and there'll be nothing in there. You can also throw some leaves in the very lowest tier, but just enough, just to where, just like above the tap, and that's just basically for filtration. So if anything gets stuck, it doesn't get stuck and muck up your tap. So you could just put some stuff in there, and if the worms do fall to the bottom, they won't drown in the container. They can actually just use adhesion and cohesion and that sort of thing and actually work their way back up to the top into these tiers here. So the idea is that this is the feeding tray, which is the top one, and then the middle one is their breeding and feeding. And then in the bottom is where you collect your liquid, which you can add to your garden. So your worm castings, lots of them will come out of this tier here. And then this one here is where the top one here is where they will actually do all of the eating. Okay, so let's go get some bromeliad leaves. Okay, so now I have put, you can even see there's an egg box in here. I've just taken the stickers off. Okay. And all I'm going to do now is just add copious amounts of water until it absolutely is drenched. Okay, and then every day when I do have some kitchen waste and things, I'm going to bring that too. And you want to keep them relatively wet, but this is basically how to do a homemade wormery. You can actually hear the water trickling down into the base right now. So guys, the one thing I want to say is I will leave a link in the description for how to manage your wormery and all of that sort of things as well. I'm going to give this one a little bit of time before it needs some management, and perhaps the other one will need management sooner. And when I do work with them, I will be sure to film an episode on that for you so you can actually see how I do that. But for now, this is a homemade wormery, guys, and that's brilliant. So I'm going to top it up with some more of that stuff right there, the brush, until it's sort of all the way, well, not fully to the top, just a little bit more, maybe one more load, and then water that down as well. And then tomorrow I'll bring them some food. Okay. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel. And if you're using them for fishing, enjoy your fishing. As random as that is. Bye for now. Bye, guys.